whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
For joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. Happy Friday. Happy Pride. I'm wearing my, just to piss Ron DeSantis off, wearing my Mickey Mouse rainbow t-shirt that I got when I visited Disneyland not too long ago. Great show coming up. We always love Fridays. I have Friday food coming up. That's a very appropriate one for today. Many of you are probably going to be able to guess that one. In the second part of the show, we are going to talk about AI with the San Francisco Chronicle editorial columnist Emily Hoeven, friend of the show. And she asked basically a simple question. Is AI going to save or destroy California's economy? That is a great question. And so we'll delve into that just a little bit. And do you think, and this is what I want to pose to Emily, and you guys can tell me as well, do you think that we've learned any lessons regarding social media and where we apply it? I'll get to a story this hour that has to do with AI already replacing people's jobs. We always end the show, of course, with Tim Sika doing movies. To start off the show, though, I do want to talk about Pride, basically. Pride is happening. So we'll get into that. And yes, thank you. I'm Ms. Organic. I absolutely love this shirt. Okay, so let's get into Pride. So yesterday I was in San Francisco, and it was technically the first day of Pride, but today is, it's Friday, so they're just, making it so easy to plan events and things like that. Let me play a little bit from our friends over at KTVU talking about Jane Fonda was in San Francisco, talking about, obviously the attacks on the LGBTQ community. As I play you a little bit of this news report, do you think, and for you, whether you're straight, gay, or anywhere in between, does this Pride Month mean more? Should it mean more? Obviously, we've been celebrating Pride, it's late 60s? I think that's when it first started. Does it carry more importance? Are you worried about this Pride? Let me know in the comments. Also, before we get to any of that, will you guys do me a favor? Please, please, please. Click the thumbs up button to show your support of the show. It helps us out. It lets YouTube know you're watching. Even if you're watching in replay, please click the thumbs up button. Super Chat is also live. It's one of the many ways we can keep this show going for you to stay here. So just look for the $ under the live chat box, and you could throw us a super sticker, a super chat, or something like that. And then big thank yous to people who have been bumping up their monthly donations, and to those that are becoming first-time subscribers to the Nikki Medoro Show and becoming a Medorable, as I call you guys. So please consider it, either joining or bumping up your subscription if you can afford it by going to thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com. That website has the Patreon link and, of course, direct links to our PayPal and, of course, our merch shop as well. Okay, so let's get into Pride. And again, the question that I want you guys to consider as we watch this is, what does Pride Month mean to you? Even if you are not, gay or a lesbian or bisexual or a transgender community, what does Pride mean to you right now? And is it carrying more weight, more importance? Again, this is from our friends at KTVU.
Crosstown in San Francisco's downtown, Pride Month featured the start of a new tradition called Drag Me Downtown, featuring drag performances designed to bring new life to the downtown area. And up in the hills of San Francisco, organizers are already looking for volunteers to help set up the iconic pink triangle on Twin Peaks.
It's really a community building project for everybody, old and young. And seeing those people up there learning about gays one-on-one, person to person, it's part of what it's all about.
Now, what is the pink triangle? It was once a symbol of LGBTQ persecution by Nazis during the Holocaust, but now it is a staple during Pride Month. Volunteers have installed it by hand every June for the past 28 years. They want it to serve as a reminder of the struggles of the past, again, to prevent it from happening in the future.
So I want to leave it there. Are we going backwards? You know, I was reading this one, I think it was on Twitter. I was reading this thread and, you know, kind of comparing what throughout history moments like this have meant for certain marginalized groups. I mean, if you want to look at the Holocaust, you know, kind of the slow erosion of the Jewish people in the eyes of people who weren't Jewish, right? They were called names. There was a narrative around them so that people started to see them as less than, and then in some way justified the targeting and genocide of these people. And I can see a similar thing happening right now with members of the LGBTQ community. Calling them groomers. Where did that come from? Right? It's a narrative that has been created to put a target on the backs of these people who are just trying to live their lives. And the thing that boggles my mind, and I've mentioned this before, is how all of a sudden people are outraged about, let's just say, drag queens and all these sorts of things. And not asking themselves, where did this come from? What has been, you know, whispering in my ear, planting the seed? Obviously, it's the things that people watch on TV and look at online. I mean, nobody had a problem with Dustin Hoffman being Tootsie, right? Robin Williams being Mrs. Doubtfire. I watched this commercial. You've probably seen it. It's like Travelocity or Kayak, one of those travel places, with Melissa McCarthy. And in one of the commercials, she's dressed as like a mountaineer or something. She has a beard on. And I go, drag, look at it. But nobody's outraged at Melissa McCarthy. You see, like, it's faux outrage. But the problem with faux outrage is that people actually become outraged about it, thinking that this is this emotion that they've tamped down because society has made them accept these people. No, it's created by certain political and right-wing groups to divide us. It's so, and it's frightening because there's actual human beings on the other side of this faux outrage that's been created, that has stirred up faux emotions in people that they think are real, that are based on facts, which they're not. And so, yes, I do believe that this Pride Month carries more weight. We need to go out in whatever way. I use this platform largely to voice my support for the LGBTQ community in whatever way makes you comfortable, and then shows others your beliefs. Wearing this shirt around, right? Not that I feel like I would ever get a comment on wearing the shirt. I've worn the shirt so many times, I don't feel like I would. Be interesting if I did. And I just feel like we need to, in whatever way, whether it's going to a pride parade, helping like you saw in that news report with the pink triangle, and speaking out and asking people, you know, and having real conversations, not shouting matches. I mean, obviously we try to avoid those because it gets lost in the yelling, you know, the point that we're trying to make. But just talking to people like, why? Why do you feel that way? You know, some people might, you know, touch on their religion. Okay, you can believe in whatever way you want to, but why do you feel like your belief system needs to be imposed on other people? So much so that they lose fundamental rights, right? They could lose the right to marry someone they love or have children or any of those things. And so it's one of these things where we need to be able to have conversations so that it doesn't devolve into tragedy. Tragedies such as things that we saw, you know, at the beginning of why Pride was created all the way back into the late 60s. So it's one of those things where I just hope that we can have civilized conversations. Let me read some of the comments. And again, I'm asking, you know, what does this Pride mean to you? Wes says, they're canceling Pride events here in Florida because they're scared a child might see a drag queen. And again, I love that you brought in the children, Wes, Because apparently, these children need to be sheltered from so many things except gun violence. That's just, that just comes with the freedoms of being an American, right? I mean, it's not like these people are demand, or many of them are demanding we do something about gun violence that is actually scarring these children. I mean, we don't know what all of this gun violence we've been experiencing in recent years is really doing to these kids. But I bet we're going to. The mental health crisis that we already had, and you want to compound that with the fact that we're not doing jack crap about gun violence in this country. But no, let's target the drag queens. It's just their outrage, their faux outrage, I truly believe is misdirected. Calvin believes those are the same people behind the Hillary Pizzagate nut job story. They want power. Yeah. Anonymous, no problem when it used to be LGB. The TQIA plus commandeered pride and was easy for the media to create a crisis. What do you mean? Do you know? Oh, so do you think that this crisis, because you put it in quotes, is not a real crisis? Do you think that we're media? And I'll include myself in that because I'm talking about it right now. Do you think that we are talking about something that's not actually happening on the streets? Because I really don't think so. I think that when the LA Dodgers disinvite and then reinvite the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, when pride events like Wes was talking about are being canceled, that have been around for decades, when people are being yelled at as they shop in Target because there's a pride display, I don't think we're creating this crisis. But I will give you this. I do think that the media plays a role in it. Let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show. We're talking pride. Happy Pride, Kim.
Hey, happy Pride to you.
Yeah. And so it's a basic question. Do you think that this Pride Month carries more weight? Are you worried during this Pride Month? Do you think that we're, like Anonymous was kind of hinting to, that we're manufacturing a crisis? Or, as I believe, there are all these signs there that sadly more people that are part of the LGBTQ community are going to be targets, especially this month.
Yeah, I think it's true. I don't think it's a manufactured crisis. And I was just reading this story. Listen to this. The Navy, the U.S. Navy's official Instagram and Twitter accounts have been taken down. They just took down posts celebrating the start of Pride Month. So they were up. Now they're not. The service's Instagram account featured a post depicting a fighter jet with the LGBTQ flag colors in its wake. But by this morning, that image was taken down. It was gone. It is apparently the latest in a string of Pentagon efforts to shy away from culture wars, with top defense officials earlier this week moving to ban drag performances on all military installations. In a statement to The Hill, a Navy spokesperson acknowledging the original post but would not say when or why they were removed. They said, the quote is, the Navy posted graphics in support of the start of Pride Month to honor the service, commitment, and sacrifice of LGBTQ plus service members and personnel who defend our country. As we do with all defense equal opportunity management observant months, we look for additional opportunities to celebrate, blah, 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 but they didn't talk about why they took them down. So I think this is real.
Yeah.
I think really, and I haven't noticed that in Pride months previously, but for the first time, there's this pushback on, normalizing, celebrating people that have, been marginalized in the past. So I don't think it's at all manufactured.
Portion says, I'm worried, especially for trans folks. These are scary times with the political right ginning up so much hate. Exactly. It's working for them, right? I mean, the only reason why I would say the GOP has latched on to this issue and made it such a culture hot button issue is because it works for them, right? They're like, look at those people over there. Don't mind us. We're just the party that stormed the Capitol and, are undermining our election laws and everything like that. Don't pay any attention to us actually doing something that is harming this country. Look at those weirdos over there. That's what they're bullies on the playground. They're bullies on the playground. When, and I keep thinking to myself, like that Target display, And what was on some of the clothes? You know, like trans people exist. Be kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite rich for a party, a political party or groups to be like, God, can you believe all those rainbows and be kind messages? It's like, what's wrong with you? They're people. They're Americans. They're part of our community. They deserve representation in Washington. They deserve to be acknowledged, seen, protected by laws, just as everybody else is. That's America. That's what I want America to be. Randy says, I stopped at the local Target yesterday just to see what their pride display was all about. It wasn't any big deal. It's not.
No.
It's not a big deal. It's nothing we haven't seen before because pride has been around forever. It's, if anything, it's like that capitalization of it, right? Capitalizing on it. Like, we're going to make money off pride. And now all of a sudden, these companies who claim to support the LGBTQ community are pulling back. Oh, we don't want to get into the culture wars. Oh, no, by pulling back, you are. Because if for years you were a huge supporter and really just trying to make some money off of this community, which is fine. That's capitalism. But now you're pulling it. Now your true colors are showing. Flo says the LGBTQIA community in Pride Month is truly in danger of restrictions and censorship. You would think by now this wouldn't be an issue, but the struggle to be fully seen as a human being continues. Yeah. It's just it's tough, you know. It's you know, and I see in the comments the debate again about, you know, transgender women and women's sports. And we've talked about that so many times on this show, and we'll continue to focus on it when new things happen. And I really have become comfortable with my stance, although I'm fully open to evolving all of the discussion around it. But I feel comfortable with the stance of there needs to be a compromise here, right? There likely will have to be another category to make it as fair as possible, even though sports are inherently unfair. Sports are not fair. They never have been. They never will be. People always have either natural or financial inequities, right? If you can get a trainer, if you can afford it, if your parents are home from work and can take you to practices, there's all sorts of ways in sports some people can excel, either naturally or by outside influences. So it's never been fair. We're not robots. We're not carbon copies of each other. There's always been differences in height and muscle and all those sorts of things. But I think when you're talking about transgender women in sports and the fact that puberty does happen, I think that to ignore those concerns from biological cis women is unfair as well. And when we stop listening to the other side for the sake of trying to be inclusive, I think that also adds to the division in this country. You have to be able to listen and to be empathetic with ideas that don't match your own and understand that maybe there's a compromise to be found there. And some of you may not like what I'm saying, but I do believe that when it comes to women's sports, there are good arguments for creating a new category. And I think that as more people become comfortable coming out as transgender, that category can grow. As long as it's treated the same, celebrated the same, not protested or anything like that.
Right.
I don't see a problem with it. So, yeah, but you know,
what you don't want is a trans category where there's only two people competing. Then winning the gold medal isn't so hard.
Right. But I mean, there's always the first, right?
Competition. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be the start. It's always going to probably start smaller. Maybe. I mean, it takes forever to make changes. I'm assuming it takes forever to make new categories of sports. I hope it doesn't take that long. But if you make a new category and you urge people, and I'll say this, Kim, and I don't know if this is a fair answer, but if people want to compete in the transgender women's category who are not transgender, I mean, that could be open for discussion, right? Like, let's compete. As long as you're okay competing against transgender women. It's all about, you know, where you choose to compete. And maybe even starting that way to kind of invite more people into, I don't know. But it does seem there's a conversation there. And it doesn't make you a bigot or anti-trans to believe that there are good arguments on both sides.
Right.
Let's transition a little. Oh, I did want to mention though, in my neck of the woods, because I know that San Francisco gets all the attention, rightly so, for all their Pride events. San Jose's having a block party. Just to let you know, it's next Saturday.
The whole city.
Well, it's saying it's Silicon Valley Pride is holding its Pride block party.
Okay.
On Saturday, June 10th. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I would love to. We'll see. It's my son's birthday party, so I've got a bunch of little boys that are going to be up my butt. So I gotta entertain these boys. We're going to see movies. One of the movies that Tim Sika is reviewing today. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that he likes it. But there is a Pride event in San Jose. So I just want to mention that because it's in my neck of the woods. Now
Have
talking. Go ahead.
Have you been to it before? Is it like a big to do? Okay.
No, I've never been to it before. But they're also having like a beer crawl. If you like just put up Silicon Valley Pride or Pride San Jose, and I know I'm being very San Jose centric here, but I'm in San Jose.
I
You'll
like
find
to know what's going on down there.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a bar crawl also is happening, I think, on the 17th. You have to pay for that. The Pride block party is free. The bar crawl, I believe, is like $15 or something, and you get like 2 cocktails. It's totally worth it. And so yeah, there it is. Pride block party, Saturday, June 10th from 12 until 6. So I think the movie that I'm going to is like at 4. So I might be able to stop by right around lunchtime and go check it out. So
it's
yeah,
free, but they want you to reserve a spot, it looks like.
I think they want an idea of how many people are going to come, but if you don't, I'm sure if you drive by and you see it, there you go. There you go.
Be ready to dance, sing, and have fun with amazing performers, poetry, DJs, drag queens, and kings. Delicious food and drinks, soak in the pool, enjoy the family area, and drag queen story time.
There you go. Yep. Oh my God. Oh my God. But yeah, when I hear these things, I'm like, it sounds like a great time to me. And then of course the worry sets in, right? Because people are nuts. And so, but you can't let that stop you. You can't let the fear of hateful people stop you. So, so happy Pride to everybody. Now let's talk a little bit about being proud of yourself, of your accomplishments. I don't know if you talked about this yesterday, but it came out yesterday that Lizzo has said that recent online comments about her weight are making her want to quit music.
Really?
It's really freaking sad, people.
I hope she doesn't do that.
No. So let me show you. I'm going to show you a couple of the tweets. And it is really sad. This is one of the main ones. It says, I don't think Lizzie wants to be smaller, yet if she did, she would be. It's her brand. If she's working with nutritionists, they're probably showing her how to eat healthy and maintain her size. And so Lizzo responds, y'all need to touch grass. I don't know what that means, but okay. I'm not trying to be fat. I'm not trying to be smaller. I'm literally just trying to live and be healthy. This is what my body looks like even when I'm eating super clean and working out. Y'all speak on bleep y'all know nothing about, and I'm starting to get heated. Now, if you've ever been to a Lizzo concert, you know how, and if you ever watched that show, I think it was on Hulu or Netflix, Big Girls or something like that. She is flexible, acrobatic, and does all of that and then plays the freaking flute. So if we're talking about lung capacity, and this woman is in shape.
We're talking about dancing like a very aerobically while you're singing. Mm-hmm. And about maybe 30 seconds in, I would be winded.
Oh God,
yes. She goes on. I'm
winded just looking at her. I mean, watching her on and then there's this person tweets, how is Lizzo still this fat when she's constantly moving this much on stage? I wonder what she must be eating. And then Lizzo writes, I just logged on and the app and this type of S I see about me on the daily. It's really starting to make me hate the world. Then someone in the comments said, I eat lots of fast food. I literally stopped eating fast food years ago. I'm tired of explaining myself all the time. And I just want to get on this app without saying my name in some BS. It's not wrong to love yourself for exactly who you are.
Right.
But
do you think when you put yourself out there into the limelight, into the big spotlight that like she has, mm-hmm. that you automatically open yourself up for comments and criticism, that should be expected when you're in that position? Mm-hmm. If you don't want that type of positive and negative attention, then maybe you shouldn't be in the in that position. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I mean, in my world, I want everyone to be kind and nice. And
Right.
if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. And just to be nice people. But we know that's not the world we're living in. And so when you're a celebrity, you kind of have to expect there's going to be good and bad.
I get what you're saying, and you're right, right? You put yourself in the
Yeah.
public eye, whether in a small way or a big way, people are going to be a-holes, right? And
Yeah.
I get that. But the thing is people always seem to target Lizzo as if she is unhealthy because she's so big. And she's not. I mean, yes, if she was walking down the street and we knew nothing about her, would we consider her a bigger woman who may be unhealthy? Yes, I think that would be the knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
But if you didn't know, and you know what, if you didn't see her and you try to follow like her workout routine and what she does on stage and then playing the flute and all that, I doubt you'd still think the same thing. Floyd, excellent point. Scientists have found there are heavy-set people that are healthy and nothing wrong with them. It's genetics. Like, she's a clean eater. She works out, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
What more do you want from the poor woman? She says she eats clean, Randy. And I'm sorry, I would consider healthy. Now, I don't know, if she has any organ problems or something. I don't know her full health, but all I know is what I see. And I see a woman that is constantly moving around, extremely flexible, plays the flute, which says something about lung capacity, not getting winded, that sort of thing. So to me, if it was on any other body, I'd be like, that person's hella healthy. But because of what the output doesn't match what she looks like, all of a sudden we're like, nah, she ain't healthy. She ain't healthy. Because she doesn't check this box. I know. And JR, you're so right. These are not comments people would make face to face. Social media allows anonymity, which hate thrives on. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. So I hope she doesn't quit music. I think she was just getting really upset about it. And I totally get it. And I can't imagine being at her level of celebrity and dealing with it.
Vicky with a great question. If they were criticizing her for her race, it wouldn't be okay, right? What's the difference?
What's the difference, Kim?
I think people look at weight as a choice and something that you obviously have a capability to do something about, right? You're born white. You're not going to be changing your race. There's really nothing you can do. There's no choice involved. This is the race you're born. This is the lot you have in life. This is it, right?
Right.
But when there's something that is perceived to be your own fault, right? People don't look at it as genetics. Maybe you're predisposed to being overweight. Maybe you come from a family of overweight people, but they look at it as your choice. That if you could be skinny if you wanted to, but you're just choosing not to. You could be in shape. You could all these things. You could have more control. You could do this. And so maybe that's the difference. I don't know. And I'm not saying, Vicky, that it's right. But people are, like Nikki said, people are going to be jerks.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to expect it.
I also think that fat phobia or fat, like being discriminatory against fat people is still accepted versus race. I feel like, and that's not right. It shouldn't be that way. But I feel like people don't see it the same way. They just don't see it like, oh my God, if you called someone the N-word, but if you called someone fat, people are like, right? Like that's kind of how it seems. And it's not right. It really does, it's exhausting. It really is exhausting. Yeah. So I just feel like, be proud of who you are. And on this Pride Month, obviously, I hope that nothing terrible happens. I really do. I hope, there was that, what was it, a school in Southern California. They burned this pride flag. I think it was like an elementary school or something. Gavin Newsom was all up in arms about that. Rightfully so. There's businesses pulling back on their pride events or their displays or their social media posts. If I was a member, a significant member also with a huge platform of the LGBTQ community, I would call out each and every and make a list of every single corporation that pulled back. And then next year, if all this crap dies down because there's been an election, right? Don't you dare try to market to us and our community and our supporters and our allies. Don't you even dare. Because when push came to shove and we needed you to stand behind us no matter what, you didn't. You showed actually your true colors. And you hide behind, I want to stay out of the culture wars. Not when people's lives are at risk. right? Do you think that people said during the Holocaust, I want to stay out of the culture war? No, right? No. So, show who you are. Show your true colors on this Pride in every color of the rainbow. Okay, we're going to do some headlines with Kim McAllister. I have my Friday food right here.
What did you
Oh my
get
God.
today? Do I have to wait
I'll
to
let
find
you
out?
know. You have to wait. But last night I was going to do an early Friday food, but I just totally started eating it. Let me just tell you. Have you ever had drunken noodles, Kim?
Yes, I love them.
Oh
They're
my God.
thick and
Thick.
kind of squishy and
Yes. Oh, pad
delish.
ki mao, I think is how you pronounce it.
I say pad thai. Is it tea?
Oh, pad thai is a different noodle. I mean, it's
Oh,
it's
okay.
a different sauce, different kind of stuff. So it's pad ki mao is drunken noodle. Pad thai is different. I think they still both use the same type of noodle, but the ingredients and the sauce is different. So I
Okay.
was driving home from San Francisco last night. I was starving. And there's this Thai place that I have not done for Friday food, so I was thinking about doing it. I'll do it another time because it was delicious. Kai San Thai. I'm probably saying the name wrong, but anyways, they're right down the street. They're like across the street from my house, and so I went there, and I was like, I love doing this to people that work at places. I was either green curry, which I always get at Thai places, or I was going to try these drunken noodles, which I never get. And I looked at her, I'm like, what do you think? I was like, should I get this? And she's like, oh no. The drunken noodles. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right. Can you make it extra spicy? Because there's a cold that's floating around this house. I don't have it.
You and the extra
Not me.
spicy.
Oh, but yeah, I asked, oh my God. Oh my God, it was so spicy. They even put an extra thing in it. And I'm so glad that I tasted it before because I would have just dumped that crap right on my stuff. It was, and I got it with shrimp. Oh my God, it was so freaking good. I should do it again for a Friday food, but I didn't. I mean, I'm sure my gut hates me. I feel like I have a gut of steel though with the spiciness. I'm just gonna let you know it's one of my superpowers is to eat really, really spicy food and live to tell the tale. But yeah, it was really, really good. So it scratched that itch for me. But no, today is something completely different. Sure, many of you may be eating this today. That's your hint. So I'll have that coming up after Kim's news. Also coming up, we'll kind of keep it on the food. There's this Indian food, like a vegan restaurant in a town called Buttonwillow. It's like in the middle of nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So SF Gate had one of its food columnists or whatever review it, but there was an interesting part of the article talking about what this restaurant is doing in order to retain workers. So we're going to talk about workers again in the second part of the show after the top of the hour. Emily Hoeven with the Chronicles joining us, and she's going to
Yay.
discuss whether or not AI is going to save or destroy California's economy and have we learned any lessons about technology. I'm going to say spoiler alert, never. But we'll talk to Emily about that. But right now, let's do some headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And let us start with the credit rating of the United States. America's credit rating may still take a hit. Despite Congress avoiding a U.S. default, credit ratings agency Fitch Ratings saying today it will keep the nation's AAA rating on its negative watch list and plans to make a decision on potential downgrades by the end of September. A credit rating downgrade would raise the government's borrowing costs, so we don't want to downgrade. But because we, danced around the whole credit limit thing, this debt ceiling, we might get a downgrade. We'll see how that what pans out in September. There's a new report that says CIA Director Bill Burns took a secret trip to China last month to meet with Beijing officials. According to the Financial Times, President Biden sent Burns to discuss the U.S.'s desire to keep open lines of communication on intelligence between the U.S. and China. It came ahead of Biden seeing a thaw in relations with China at the May G7 summit in Japan. The White House dismissing any speculation that the United States could be pulled into a nuclear arms race with Russia and China. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan telling the Arms Control Association in Washington today that the U.S. does not need to increase its nuclear forces to successfully deter any of its nuclear competitors, and that anything to the contrary really is not true. So I think, they can put that to rest, but it's interesting. I don't know if you've been following this story out of Iowa. Wild. This building exploded and partially collapsed. At least 7 people hurt after the partial collapse of a building in Iowa there. Well, this other building is in uh under construction in New Haven, Connecticut. So it looks like it may have happened again here. At this point, 7 people are hurt in the Connecticut building collapse. 2 of the injured reported to be in critical condition. No deaths reported. 3 dozen workers were on site when the collapse happened just after 12:30 local time there in Connecticut. In Iowa, where this happened, the demolition of that building may get underway, even though someone else was found, a body was found in the rubble. And former Mötley Crüe guitarist Mick Mars is suing his bandmates, claiming he was wrongfully dismissed from the group. The 72-year-old Mars suffers from chronic arthritis that has fused his spine, making it impossible for him to turn his head. Mars is a 25% shareholder in the band's enterprises, but now he's suing his bandmates, claiming he was wrongfully dismissed. Although I don't know how he's supposed to play and tour and all that stuff if he can't turn his head. That's a hard one. Oh. Today, of course, the big day for Spider-Man. I don't know if you've been following the release of this movie, but
this is the movie I'm taking my son to, so I'm hoping Tim Sika likes it when he gives us his. Yeah, I already purchased the tickets like 2 weeks ago just to make sure I'd have enough for my son and his friends.
Well, I can tell you that Michael Snyder didn't just like it, he loved it.
It got 95 like fresh on Rotten Tomatoes too. So yay.
So I love it when Michael Snyder and Tim Sika agree on something. That says a lot to me.
So we'll see. All right.
Yeah, we'll see how this all goes. I was trying to get a picture of Spider-Man up, but my computer's going crazy.
There we
go.
Now. There you go. There it is.
Oh, look at that. Nicely done.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. So it's a cartoon one. It's the cartoon kid. It's not the one with it's not Tobey Maguire. Who is it? Tom Holland. Tom Holland is Spider-Man with Zendaya.
Yeah.
But it's not that one. They're thinking of doing another one though. I guess it's in they're thinking about it, but they're not going to move forward because of the writer's strike. So I just heard an interview or read something from Tom Holland saying that. So that's exciting too.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
And it is off to a fast start at the box office. I guess a lot of people like you already bought their tickets.
I did.
The animated sequel to 2018 Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has now made more than $17 million thanks to Thursday previews. The film is projected to make as much as $90 million this weekend. Stephen King's adaptation of The Boogeyman and The Little Mermaid are among major contenders as well. I think Spider-Man's got this one in the bag.
Oh, yeah. And Stars is saying going to see Spider-Man using the $5 T-Mobile Tuesday deal. Oh, I don't know anything about that. I don't have T-Mobile, but if you do, and Stars giving you a little click and a little tip right there. And then Miles Morales. Thank you, Lulu. I was forgetting his name. That's the one from the Spider.
This show is crowdfunded, and we rely on you to help fund the show. You can find the Patreon and the PayPal link at thenikkimedoroshow.com. The super chat is live, and of course, click the like button while you're thinking about it. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
And Wes started us off with a $5 super sticker in our super chat. Thank you so much, Wes, for starting us off. And then JR gave us $25 in the super chat. Thank you. And he writes, you'll have to explain this for podcast listeners, but know that you are indeed fat. PHAT, which is the good kind of fat. Keep intelligent conversation alive. Yeah.
Right on.
I always say that to my kid. I'm like, you're fat. PHAT. Like, it's a compliment. There you go. So thank you, JR. Thank you to Wes. Again, you guys, if you can donate, the Super Chat's live. You could donate that way. Also, you can become a Medorable by going to thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com. Sign up to be a Patreon subscriber. It really helps us out and keeps us on the air and doing what we love so much, which is having this intelligent conversation. Okay. Oh, it's Friday food. What am I doing? I've been literally smelling this next to me. It took all of my willpower, Kim McAllister, to not eat it before the show. Not even take a bite so that it would stay whole. And you would look at it and you'd be like, she didn't eat any of it.
What are we having? Let's see what it is.
It is National Donut Day. And so I got myself a donut. And I'm not a big donut eater. It's not something that I ever crave. The kids, when they were in karate, there was literally a donut. It's not there anymore, but there was a donut shop right next to it. And so they would go and get a donut after karate because that's what we did, or after church or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, so it's National Donut Day. What is your favorite donut, Kim McAllister, if you were to get one?
I dream of this donut.
Oh, okay. You dream of this donut.
I dream of this donut. It was at Nugget Market in Davis. And it was this, I mean, it must have been the size of a salad plate. It's a massive donut that was, and I don't think there was anything special about the makeup of the donut itself. It was just like your standard donut, but it was dunked in chocolate, like a milk chocolate, the whole thing. And then it was placed in a plate of mini chocolate chips. And then it was allowed to dry, and then it was drizzled with some type of caramel or something. But the look of it, and I don't think I ever bought one. I always thought, wow, that's an extravagant splurge.
Right.
But I'll never forget how amazing it looked. This donut in Davis, I would buy. That's the one I would buy. The one that we usually get is there's a Dunkin' Donuts in town.
Yeah.
And so we'll get the ones that are filled, or there's a couple small mom and pop shops in town that just make your standard donut. I like a French cruller very much.
All right, there you go. Yeah, I went to Manly's Donut. There's a couple of Manly's Donuts in San Jose, and I was trying to Google. I'm assuming they're all connected, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It looks like the spelling and everything and the font and everything's the same. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. So I got a chocolate donut with chocolate frosting and peanuts on top. But my favorite donut is a chocolate donut, a plain. Actually, my favorite is at Dunkin' Donuts, which I just didn't want to go to because I know they're going to rake in the dough today. Is the chocolate munchkins, the donut holes from Dunkin' Donuts, the chocolate ones. I can eat my weight in chocolate donut holes. I love that because they're just pop the whole thing in your mouth. I mean, it's a big bite, but I got a big mouth. So yeah. But yeah, so I got that. I got the kids. So the kids were leaving for school. And I was like, it's donut day. I'm getting donuts for my Friday food. You know, what kind do you want? And they like it's not a French bar. It's the yellow donut, the long yellow donut with the chocolate frosting on top. You know, that standard one.
There's
nothing in it.
Is it an eclair or just a bar?
I think it's just like a bar, right?
Like a maple bar, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not maple. It's chocolate instead of maple on top. Yeah, so that's what they like. All right, what's your guys' favorite donut? Let me know in the chat. John likes a honey wheat donut. I heard, what is the best donut? You know, the glazed donut, the plain glazed donut is actually the healthiest donut. And I'm putting that in quotes. Yeah, like it has the fewest calories. Let's put it that way. Blueberry cake donut holes. Wes likes those. Ooh, with blueberries in it. John writes, a glazed French donut. Vicky loves that. Ricky said, I had a donut this morning. Lunch is Zachary's deep dish chicken and artichoke hearts. Wow. Well, what kind of donut did you have, Ricky O'Bear? A maple cruller? Is it cruller or cruller? Cruller?
I think it's a cruller.
Cruller, okay.
Yeah.
Judy likes the raspberry filled powder donuts are good too. I do like me a powder donut. Apple fritter or a cream filled maple bar from Lori.
Yeah, I'm with Lori.
I mean, is anybody else's mouth just watering? Yeah, Ricky's like, I'm drooling. Yes, exactly. Oh, Sandy says, I love glazed old-fashioned and maple old-fashioned donuts, also glazed buttermilk bars and maple buttermilk bars. Okay. A glazed buttermilk for Amy. Flo asks me if I've ever been to Psycho Donuts. I've been to Psycho Donuts once. And it is psycho. I mean, the creation, just kind of like what Kim was describing with her chocolate with the chips. But I mean, this is like bacon and insane colors and all kinds. I mean, it really is a cool place to go. I wasn't going to eat all that today. I knew it. I don't eat donuts often. So I went, but I honestly, if I'm going to have a donut, I want a chocolate cake donut. That's what I want. Ricky says a healthy, quote unquote, fried dough chocolate raised. Ooh, Boston cream pie. That's a good one. Or a Bavarian cream filled donut. Oh, that's a splurge for me though. Old fashioned chocolate for Nancy. Yeah, see, I like plain glazed for Jim. A plain glazed donut. Yeah. Something about just, standard. It's like a cheese pizza, right? It's like if you can do a good cheese pizza, if you can do a good regular glazed donut, you made a good donut. Maple and bacon long john. Nice, Harry. That sounds delicious. Bacon, the salty and the sweet really go together. Ms. Organic said buttermilk with the coffee. Yeah, that sounds good. Cinnamon roll or an apple fritter with powdered jelly-filled donut is a close third. All right, there you go. Yeah, so happy National Donut Days. If there was ever a day to eat a donut, it is today. So there you go. On the food kind of topic, there's this article in SF Gate, and the writer is Silas Valentino. And the headline reads, I finally ate at Taste of India in Button Willow, California, and the vegan menu is worth exiting I-5. I've driven past Button Willow. It has a population of 1,339 people. And I guess there's just been this sign that Silas has driven past many, many times. And so he decided to go in. And apparently, according to the article, it was pretty good. Big rig truckers are loyal to it. Their food tastes pretty good, but that's not what caught my eye with this article. Sogi, it's the owner's name. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, but Sogi mentioned this is a quote from the article. Mentioned the restaurant's biggest challenge is retaining a chef and employees. Like in other kitchens, there's a lot of turnover. But the restaurant continues to employ 8 people in Button Willow and 3 in Lost Hills. To help mediate their staffing issue, the restaurateurs, who both live in Berkeley, purchased a home in Button Willow just for their staff and provided them with a car. They hope this will retain workers in the Central Valley outpost. What do you think about that idea?
Wow.
I mean, on one hand, that's awesome. But this is always, once I think that this is awesome, this is the other thing. That is a shackle to those workers. Because if you lose your job or want to quit,
you lose your house.
Or, go to another restaurant right down the street, which I don't know how many there are, you're stuck because your housing is linked to your job. Should housing be linked to your job, to your career? Because this isn't the only article I saw today doing that. Palisades in Tahoe, Palisades, Tahoe, the largest ski resort, has purchased 2 buildings to house employees. They purchased the Tahoe Vista Inn that's in North Lake Tahoe and a property in Kings Beach. And they're saying that the Tahoe Vista Inn has 30 units to house 50 employees. It will house full-time, seasonal, or year-round, domestic or international. It includes hotel-style and apartment-style rooms. The Kings Beach property is a longer-term solution to housing, they say. It'll have 8 units. It'll be able to house 15 employees. Some of the units will have fenced yards, allowing residents to have pets. Do you think that this is an answer, or is this something that's going to create problems down the road? Because on one hand, yay, people can live near where they work, but it seems like similar to healthcare. Yeah. It's one of those things that you should be independent to have. You shouldn't need the job to have the healthcare. You shouldn't need the job to be able to afford a place to live.
So I see your point, but if you're a business and you can't attract workers because it's so expensive and they can't afford to live there, then you're looking for a solution. All right, I need 20 workers and no one can afford to pay $3,000 a month, and I can't afford to pay $3,000 a month to these people, or $5,000 a month to, so they can eat as well as pay rent. So what am I going to do? Well, my business can justify making an investment in a property where I'll recoup my losses by selling the property someday if I want to. I mean, I guess I feel like if you're going to offer a discounted rate to your workers, that's great. And when you're a worker, you get into it knowing that, maybe saving up enough money to, you know, get a different job if you want to. I don't know. I don't think I mind it. I think it's a very nice perk.
I think it's a great perk. I love that you brought up something that I'm trying to find the answer on, which is, are they cutting them a deal on the rent? I would assume they are, because
Yeah.
if they're charging the same amount as across the street, why wouldn't they just go across the street, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So on that, I say, okay. But then again, okay. And maybe it's just because I'm in the news and you just hear horror stories, right? So, and I'm not saying Tahoe is going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But if your housing is tied to your job, wouldn't that make it less likely for you to complain, for you to demand certain things from your employer? There is something that is fundamental for you to survive, your housing, tied to something else that you may not be happy with anymore.
Yeah.
So that's my problem with the whole thing. It's creating this imbalance that, unless you have a great employer who's going to do right by you, it could lead to problems. And that's my concern. I like the idea at the get-go. I'm just really, I know it's easy to say just pay them more, right? But obviously the cost of housing, there's no regulating how high it can go. I mean, people want to be in Tahoe, they just drive up the cost of housing, and it seems to be out of control, and it has been for years. Yeah. So it's not as if any company can continue to pay their workers so much money to just go with that astronomical cost of housing. So I'm not saying that. That's obviously not a solution, but I'd like to be able to give these workers some skin in the game, or at least balance the power here. Because if you work for a crappy employer, let's just take Palisades Tahoe out of it. You work for a crappy employer, but they're like, "We'll give you housing." What if they don't upkeep the house? What if it becomes, what if they become a slumlord? Don't complain, because not only will you lose your housing, you're going to lose your job. See, this is the worry that I have. Sue Ann says many industries used to have company housing: wood mill workers, steel workers, farm workers. True. You also don't want your entire town to be dependent on a certain business, let's say. I think Tahoe's pretty safe within the resort area. I mean, unless they just never get snow again. It's going to be beautiful. The lake's going to be there, what have you. But you saw what happened in places like Detroit. And when you build up an entire town around one industry, and the industry goes kaput or moves, everybody loses their housing and they lose their job. And then where do they go?
So all those things that you mentioned, being afraid to make any complaints or speak out or whistleblow or whatever, being afraid to ask for a raise, being afraid to rock the boat lest you compromise your housing situation. All those are valid concerns. But what if the opposite is true? What if it creates this community of workers that, have block parties, or they have, evening events, or it's really fun and you really get to know people? Then again, you can't get rid of that person at work that's annoying. They're always around. I don't know. I mean, there's just different things to it. I wonder if all of the workers at Palisades Tahoe are younger. Right?
I'm sure some of them are and some of them aren't. I mean, what's young? Right? I mean, 40s?
It could be really fun.
I think there's older people. I definitely do. It's something that I like seeing, because I want people housed. I want people living closer to where they work, especially when the workforce and jobs and everything, we're living in unprecedented times. Again, in about 10 minutes or so, Emily Hoeven with the Chronicle is going to join us, and we're going to talk about AI. Not that AI is going to replace your ski instructor, for instance, in Tahoe, but there's a lot of jobs that are being replaced because of AI.
Yeah.
I was reading an article about how one person was a copywriter, right? And almost overnight, They lost their job when AI started the headlines about ChatGPT. There was another one. Hold on. I had it right here. This guy, Eric Fine, was interviewed by SF Gate. He said he ran a content writing business for 10 years, charged $60 an hour to write everything from 150-word descriptions of bath mats to website copy for cannabis companies. He had steady business, 10 ongoing contracts. And then in March, he received a note from his largest client. His services would no longer be needed because the company would be transitioning to ChatGPT.
Oh,
And then one by one, his 9 other contracts were canceled for the same reason.
wow.
Overnight, he says he lost all of his business. He wrote to a client. He says, please reconsider. So again, we're going to talk to Emily Hoeven in about 5 minutes. But one of the questions I want you guys to think about is, who is the onus on to make sure that we don't make ourselves obsolete, right? Where now all of a sudden we're doing, and I'm not going to knock any type of work, but in this article they're saying, I used to write and now I fix air conditioners. My husband fixes air conditioners. He makes very good money doing it, but I digress. It's just changing fields, right?
Yeah.
What do we do? Do we incentivize companies to still hire human workers? Do we, I don't know if it's a tax write-off or a benefit, like how many human employees do you have? And there's some sort of benefit for you to do that, because you have to offset the benefit of getting rid of that human and replace that person with ChatGPT or some sort of AI, right? So you have to make it, because we live in a capitalistic society, financially beneficial for businesses to choose human over AI. And is that possible? Or is it on us? Demanding, you know what? I want to walk into X, Y, and Z business and I don't want to see a robot. I want to see a person. But we've already been trained, right? How many of you still use self-checkout? I use self-checkout occasionally, not all the time. Usually, obviously, if it's more than 5-6 items, I'm going to the checkout girl or man. But yeah, it's also on us. Where do we put the value? And where do we put our dollars? And what do we demand of these companies?
Well, you're running a business. You can get what you need for free now. Why would you pay for it?
Exactly. That's what we need to promote, though, is the fact that we want to live in a society that employs human beings. Because what you're also doing is, let's just say you're creating a product that people have to buy. If people can't find work anymore, they're not buying anything. They're scraping by.
But wasn't the time for that, to stand up against that when they started replacing checkout
Right.
cashiers at the grocery store?
Yeah.
And wasn't the time for that to rise up and say, wait a minute, nope.
We could
Look
still do it.
Yeah.
I bet you if every single person, instead of wanting to go to the self-checkout, said no and stood in a long line to the back of the store at the checkout person's station and kept doing that, they'd open up other aisles. They'd bring other people. They're like, you know what? I think people don't like this. It's us. We have to value other people's jobs so that they get hired or they get to keep their job.
Right.
But what does it mean for California's economy? So that's what we're going to be talking about with Emily Hoeven in just a minute. It's a basic question. Is AI going to save California's economy, or is it going to destroy it? So that's coming up in just a few minutes after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Well, President Biden is going to be formally signing the debt ceiling bill when it reaches his desk this evening. The president will also speak to the nation tonight about the bipartisan agreement passed by Congress this week. The package raises the debt limit and it caps federal spending for the next 2 years. A new report says lawyers for former President Trump were unable to find classified documents that he discussed in an audio recording. CNN says that in the recording that was obtained by the Justice Department, Trump acknowledges holding on to a classified document regarding a potential attack on Iran, but is aware in the recording, he makes clear, of the limitations with declassifying those records. The DOJ is investigating Trump's handling of classified material following his exit from the White House. I will say, former President Trump is now saying that he is at least as innocent as his vice president after Pence today was cleared of charges relating to the finding of classified documents in his home. The Justice Department said today would not bring any charges against the former vice president. And then Trump wrote on Truth Social he should be fully exonerated on what he called a hoax. DOJ has found new sensitive documents at Pence's home, a few sensitive documents rather, at Pence's home. But in Trump's case, federal agents raided his Mar-a-Lago home last year after his refusal to cooperate with the National Archives for months. Not so with Pence. I love at least as innocent. Okay. Forecasters are keeping a pretty close eye now on the first named storm of the year in the Gulf of Mexico. The National Hurricane Center says Tropical Storm Arlene has force winds, allowing for it to be upgraded from a depression. Not expected to last long, though, and not a direct threat to the United States. I don't know if you heard about this, but Amazon could soon offer low-cost or free mobile phone services to Prime subscribers. Bloomberg reports the tech giant is in talks with telecom providers like Verizon and T-Mobile as well. Amazon reportedly looking to be able to offer wireless plans that start for $10 or less per month. Not so bad. I think we'll take it, right? Wouldn't you? It's a pretty good day on Wall Street. They're in rally mode to end the week. Dow Jones gained more than 700 points in late trading after a better than expected jobs report and final passage of the debt ceiling in Congress, also really giving markets a huge lift today. So good news for the markets and for people that trade as well. As Nikki mentioned earlier, today is National Donut Day, and some of the nation's biggest chains will be dishing out the free donuts while supplies last. And among them, yes, look at that, free donuts at Dunkin' Donuts. Hey. Because you always want your free donut. Don't want you to go without. Freebies are on the menu at Dunkin', at Krispy Kreme, at Duck Donuts, among others, and a number of places will have the buy one, get one free promotions. National Donut Day dates back to 1938, when the Salvation Army established it to honor the organization's Donut Lassies. Those were women who traveled to France during World War I to serve up snacks to soldiers. So happy National Donut Day to you. Of course, this show is crowdfunded and we rely on you for support. You can find the Patreon and PayPal links at theNikkiMedoroShow.com, and the Super Chat is live. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Oh, yes, I shoved the rest of my donut in my mouth just to make sure that I was all ready and clear. You can't eat half a donut, Kim McAllister, on National Donut Day. You got to shove the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. It's my favorite thing to do. All right. Thanks for joining us on the second half of the Nikki Medoro Show on this National Donut Day. Not quite sure if AI could take over making our favorite donuts, Kim. I mean, I'm sure there's an assembly line robotics that's going on there somewhere.
You know what it would be missing?
That love. The love.
Yeah.
It is always the secret ingredient, especially in donuts, my friend. All right. Well, speaking of AI, we want to welcome a San Francisco Chronicle opinion columnist and part of the editorial board, Emily Hoeven. Hi, Emily.
Hey, Nikki and Kim. How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good. So we were having a conversation before we brought you on about AI. And it was actually on SF Gate, your parent website there, talking about how copywriters were losing their jobs because of AI. Overnight, clients were flat out saying, you know what? We're using ChatGPT. We don't need to use you. We've seen hearings about the concerns. We've seen people like Elon Musk saying, whoa, we should slow down. But here in California, your article looks at our state's response to artificial intelligence and things like Chat GPT. So kind of explain your take on where California is kind of looking at this technology.
Yeah, well, I think what's kind of interesting is that the state so far has not really put forth a strategy for dealing with AI, which I think is really unfortunate because, as I mentioned in the piece, throughout the history of innovation and technological development, there has always been a lot of money to be made. And I think people have been willing to sort of overlook the downsides of a specific product or innovation in order to kind of reap the benefits of that product. And then only later, when we sort of understand what we already kind of knew intuitively, that there are risks and dangers associated with this product, then everyone is, calling for regulation and calling for action. And we really clearly saw that with social media, where for decades, the federal government and the states pretty much abdicated responsibility for regulating social media. Obviously, there were kind of strictures that they had to operate within that could be kind of constitutionally complex and confusing. But nonetheless, we're now seeing a lot of states rush to try to figure out how to ensure that, young kids' mental health is protected, privacy is protected. And I think for me, what was really striking is just understanding that AI is going to be social media on steroids, and in terms of the possibilities that it has for disrupting our society and disrupting even our conception of what a human being is. There was an example in my article that I cannot get over, which is there was a US senator who basically opened a hearing about the dangers of AI with an AI voice generated robot that had mimicked his voice pretty much exactly, reading aloud a speech that was written by Chat GPT about the dangers of not regulating tech. And had you not been able to see the senator's face during this reading, you would have thought it was him saying that. And so when you think about faith in elections, faith in reality, faith in that the person you're talking to online is actually a real human, I mean, imagine what could happen if, someone's able to impersonate the president and, says something crazy or starts a war or something. Like there's just so many things that we don't understand about it. And when you have top entrepreneurs in this field of AI literally begging the government for regulation, which never happens. Right. You rarely are going to see a business go to Congress or go to the states and say, look, like we need regulations. And the states are still not acting. And in California, there's the overall approach, I would say, is kind of wait and see. We heard that from the governor. We heard that from state lawmakers, even those that have been very aggressive in regulating social media. And we heard San Francisco Mayor London Breed proclaim SF to be the AI capital of the world.
Which is kind of surprising. Let's just stop there because, it's not the exact same thing, but it is tech. San Francisco has borne the brunt of tech companies flocking to San Francisco. And the consequence of that was, yes, it brought a lot of money to the city and to the area. It also hurt the neighborhoods that were there. It helped drive up housing prices. There are consequences to human beings that have to live with the decisions that either city, state, or federal officials make or don't make. Why do you think that Mayor London Breed, for instance, is calling us the AI capital of the world? Is there some sort of sign that AI is going to be this huge economic driver that's going to save a place like San Francisco that's been having a very hard time, recovering from the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I think that from some of like the early models that we've seen and some of like the early financial predictors, it's going to be a multi-billion dollar industry, I think, when all is said and done. And I think there's this desire to kind of hold on to the tech presence in San Francisco, even though, as you said, it has come with a lot of complications and downsides, some would say. The reality is that, downtown, there are much fewer workers than there used to be. There are fewer tourists, businesses are closing, big stores are leaving. And I think the mayor is honestly, pretty desperate to find something that can kind of fill that void. But I do think that it would be short-sighted to just like welcome in the newest thing without actually, vetting and checking what it is, because as we saw with cryptocurrency, right? Everyone wanted to hop on board with crypto. Everyone wanted to hop on board with some of these like boutique banks that have now, imploded. And I think that there's oftentimes this short-sighted desire to, get short-term gains. And then you're not thinking about the long-term consequences that could arise. And obviously it's not necessarily popular to be like, hey, let's slow down a little and like see what happens when you have companies and lobbyists and, economies that are begging for this stuff to continue. But I do think that is necessary. And I think to even just put forward a sort of framework, or even something non-binding to say, this is how, we're going to approach this situation. And here are some of the main like tenets that we're going to keep in mind. And it's interesting because there was a bill that that died in the legislature that would have basically tried to prevent AI, because a lot of companies are now using AI to kind of help with like employment decisions and things like that, hiring decisions. Like you kind of scan resumes and information and you make a decision. And there was a bill that would have attempted to basically, block certain types of discrimination and how those things are used, because as we know, a lot of these tools have kind of built-in biases and assumptions that are, humans made it, so that's just the way it should be. But if it's operating unchecked, there's definitely a lot of potential for outcomes that aren't gonna be good.
Well, I mean, when you talk about, the economy and the dollars and cents and it being kind of this $1 billion or whatever number that they're thinking, is that the savings companies are using by replacing people with this technology? Like, where is that money coming from? Because right now, for instance, and I'm ignorant to all this, as most people are, I think. I look at something like ChatGPT. It's free. It's open. I can try it out on my phone. Where's the money coming from if it's not coming from, we don't have to pay human beings anymore to work?
I think part of it will be the savings that businesses are able to incur. But I think it's also just like these investment booms that we see where people remember like, oh crap, I should have invested in Facebook when it was like 1 day old and I would now be super, super rich. And all of these sites now, I think we're used to this dynamic where all these sites that we use are free. Twitter is free, Instagram is free, Facebook is free, everything's free. But the payoff is they're gathering a ton of information about us as we use these services. They have advertisements. I think ChatGPT is interesting because I was actually testing it out while I was working on this article, and there was a couple days I just talked to it. I talked to it for like an hour.
Oh, nice.
And it's funny because you kind of find yourself asking it information, asking questions that, I think each person is going to ask a different set of questions, and they may be based off of things that are happening, in that person's life. But I could very well see someone receiving like, a confusing health diagnosis, and they ask ChatGPT like, what should I do about this? Or what does this mean? Right. And now that robot is probably going to know, okay, this person has this condition.
Mm-hmm.
So then imagine the types of like targeted ads that they could send you, or they could sell that to other people that would, be able to use it. And I don't know their privacy policies. I'm not saying that that's what they're doing, but I just think that oftentimes we don't realize that our interactions with these platforms are money, because we are giving them information about ourselves that can then be monetized in various ways, including ways that are like very tangential or not even for example, like I actually was testing its ability to speak another language. I speak French, and so I was like, let me just randomly start talking to it in French and like see if it responds. It responds completely fluently. It speaks basically. I tried numerous languages. Some I don't even speak. I tried Arabic. I tried Mandarin. I tried like languages that are like very complex.
I tried Pig Latin. You know what I mean? Something.
I should have done that. I think I tried Haitian Creole. Like I tried.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I tried extremely, not as popular languages, and it just knows so much. But even with that, it can kind of, maybe it can discern what country I live in, or it can discern my education or things like that. And so I think that there's just all this weird stuff that I don't even know how it works.
Helping program it. I mean, that's what I also think. When you're saying all that, I'm like, are we helping program this damn thing? Because we're talking, we're using our slang, we're using our accents, the way we speak. I mean, it's scary, and it's hard not to see it as scary, Emily. And then at the same time realize, well, the cat's out of the bag. How much hope is there that, again, our lawmakers are not going to look at this just by dollars and cents versus human basic sacrifice of our ability to be members of the economy and the job force. I mean, it doesn't seem like anyone's ever looking out for the humans, and it's just like, well, the computer will do that. Then what are people supposed to do, right? I mean, our economy is also based on people working for money to spend in the economy. And if you keep replacing people and their jobs, then we don't have any money to spend. So you can target ads to me through Chat GPT or whatever. But if I'm broke because I lost my job again because Chat GPT took it over, what good is it?
Totally. And I think that's a great question. And I think it's a question that we've been kind of grappling with in various iterations since the beginning of time, right? Like we had the Industrial Revolution, and all of the stuff that used to be done with manual labor began to be done by machines and by factories. And, I think this is just accelerating the pace of that transition. And I don't think we quite know what it's going to look like. But I will say that we're getting a little bit of a preview of this tension in the legislature right now, because there's actually a bill in there that would, so there's this whole debate right now in California about whether to let basically AI powered or, computer powered trucks drive themselves without having to have humans in them. And, they're saying this would help the shipping economy, right? Or placing your
unless you're a truck driver, of course, because then it's not helping you at all, right?
Right.
And that's the debate. So like the bill is actually backed by labor, because the bill is saying we're going to require that there be a human operator in these trucks, even if they are operated, you could say, by self-driving technology. We still need to have a human in there to make sure things are going to work, because imagine if a big rig goes off the rails, it could kill a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And so that bill actually just passed out of the assembly. So it's now headed over to the Senate. And it's actually amazing that it passed, because it was under a lot of opposition from the tech industry and from the AI industry. And so I think that it's been the subject of a lot of really intense lobbying. And I think we're going to see that intensify in the Senate. And typically bills have a harder battle in the other opposite house. And so I think we're going to see that with this one.
Do you think, I was mentioning this idea before, do you think, and I don't know if this even happens, maybe can we incentivize either through tax breaks or something like that, because we live in a capitalistic society, people want to save money, to kind of counter the money saving to replace the human with AI, that we kind of give this financial incentive to companies for every human employee that they have? Like, oh, look, you have 100 employees, you maintained 100 employees, or you even added a few, you forego, using AI to replace jobs. I'm not saying AI is going to go away, but the fact that companies are replacing human workers with it, I feel like there should either be a benefit, a financial benefit. I'm more of the carrot type of person, or a stick. It's like, well, you replaced, 25% of your workforce with AI. Now you have to pay, or you're dinged for that in some
like an AI tax. Yeah.
Or something. I mean, there needs to, because otherwise companies will slash until there's nobody left. I mean, there's no reason why they wouldn't just want to save money. They're beholden to shareholders and their bottom line. That's how business works in America. We know this. It's not changing. So if we don't give them any sort of financial incentive, I think the question of whether it's going to destroy or save our economy is, it's obviously, whether slow or fast, it's going to eventually destroy it, because people are going to be out of a job. I mean, I don't know.
I totally think that this is a conversation that we're going to be having. I don't know how soon, but again, like this truck thing is really kind of emblematic of that, because obviously some of the companies are saying, well, we can be able to save so much money if we don't have the workers there. And then you have the labor union saying, okay, but this is like, these are our jobs. This is what we're trained for. What happens if it goes wrong? Like, you kind of need that human person to check. And I just think that it's gonna keep going, and it's already, I think it still has kinks in the system that need to be worked out before it's probably deployed on the scale that we're talking about. But I think I quoted in my piece, there was an AI researcher who basically said, the way, like the fact that we have this level of AI right now, and like literally a couple months ago we didn't, just underscores like how fast it's going to go, and the probability that there's going to be like some sort of catastrophic event is probably going to happen like in the next years, if not months. And I mean, the fact that you have Elon Musk, you have Steve Wozniak from Apple going to the federal government and saying like pause development for 6 months so that we can actually understand what it is that we're creating.
That's terrifying. That's terrifying to me. We're leaving like Elon Musk having a come to Jesus moment about something. It's like, no, if he's concerned, right, then
when the people that are going to make money off of it are concerned, and they're like, hold up.
That's nuts to me. That's frightening, Emily.
Totally.
I don't want to like live in this, because I think just growing up with the Terminator, right? I mean, all of us think this. We're just idiots. We saw it in a movie, and now we've just created it in this self-fulfilling prophecy type of way. But it is where we know what we do. We become obsessed with some sort of technology, even at our own detriment. It happens with social media. It happens with the internet. It's, a part of me also wonders, we're also a highly adaptable species, so we'll figure it out. But
it seems like once casualties. You let the cat out of the bag, like once you start something like social media, it's over. Like it's too late to roll it back. But I'm wondering, Emily, what you mean by catastrophic event. Is that like something out of the movies, or what do they think? What are they saying?
Obviously, it's a bomb obliterating the entire. Didn't you watch Terminator, Kim? No, just kidding. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't even know if they know, but there was actually a great column by Ezra Klein in the New York Times where there was some kind of survey that they did of AI researchers, and they said like, what's the like, how many of you think that what you're creating will lead to the destruction of humanity? And I think 10% of the researchers said that's what they thought would happen. And so Ezra Klein is like, wait, why would you keep doing this? If that many of you actually think this is going to kill us, why are you doing it? But then I think you look back at history too, and it's like, I mean, we created the atomic bomb, and we knew that it was going to destroy a lot of people, right? So there's this weird push to innovate and to be the first to put a man on the moon, first to do this, first to do that. And I don't even really know what we're competing for at the end of the day, because it's not going to matter if we're all dead.
Right.
But I think there's just this desire to almost see like, what are we capable of, even if that knowledge is going to destroy us. And, I don't want to be apocalyptic, because I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. But I think in that situation, it's very hard to not have your mind go to the worst case scenario, especially when people who are much more knowledgeable about it than me are saying there's a lot of reasons to be concerned.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's some fun aspects of ChatGPT and AI. I'm not trying to knock the whole thing. It's just, again, understanding, and it's always like we're playing catch up with technology, which is the way it always happens, right? The technology comes and all of a sudden we're like, we need rules. Well, and that's just going to continue to happen. I just worry the casualties, both economically, job-wise, housing, all these things are going to happen before we even get close to catching up to this technology, or put it on pause, or do any of that, because again, we're just our overlords that we created, that we're just using. I mean, we don't have to use ChatGPT, just like we don't have to use the self-checkout, but some of us do and some of us don't. And we're doing it at our own peril, I think. And maybe I'm a little apocalyptic about the whole thing, but I like scary movies.
It's interesting that you think atomic weapons, nuclear weapons. I think that Will Smith movie where the robots come after you. That's right. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I think all of us just pull from Hollywood because that's where we come from, and it's not surprising that we do that. So so there's the bill regarding the truck drivers that I find encouraging, right? So hopefully that passes. What else is next? Is there anything on the table that has anything to do with AI, at least in California wise?
So I know that there's also a couple bills, and I don't know exactly where they're at in the process, but there were a couple of bills that were trying to regulate the use of facial recognition technology, which is also AI adjacent, basically, law enforcement or other industries being able to kind of feed your face into some sort of tech tool that is then able to kind of match you or pull out different characteristics. And I think there's a lot of concern surrounding like racial profiling and things of that nature with that type of technology. And then also just privacy rights where, you know, we're not necessarily consenting to having our face be like inputted into these systems when we go out to the grocery store or whatever. So I don't know where those bills are in the legislative process, but I know that those were a couple of other key ones. And yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to sort of see lawmakers kind of say, we need to wait and see what happens. And I think that approach that we're always catching up is so accurate. And it reminds me that there was a congressional hearing a while back, it was years ago, when Mark Zuckerberg was there. And someone asked him, like, how is Facebook free? A senator asked him, like, how is it possible that Facebook is free? And he was like, we run ads, Senator. And I'm just like, yes. If these are the people that are like regulating it, it's not good.
No.
And someone else made the point to me that I think is really interesting is that it took years for Mark Zuckerberg to go before Congress because Facebook took that long to kind of become the massive giant that it was, right? ChatGPT is like less than a year old, I think only several months old, and they've already had a congressional hearing about it. Right. So when you think about how quickly that technology has transformed and how quickly it has become as big as it has, I think it kind of hits home again that this is not Facebook. This is like Facebook 10.0, where it has basically eaten every single thing on the internet and synthesized it, and it's able to spit it back out at you. And so when you think about if the internet is the most comprehensive database of human knowledge that we have, that machine is infinitely smarter than anything else that we've created up until this point.
It's nuts. It's nuts. I love this conversation. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, it's ChatGPT. People are just going to use it like an enhanced Google. On the other hand, when you hear the stories and people are being replaced and jobs are being lost, it's really hard not to get so dark about it. Emily Hoeven, your article is linked to our show notes. Check it out. Leave her a comment on there. Tell her what you think about AI, ChatGPT, and all of it. Have a great weekend, and I love having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much for the great conversation.
Bye. Talk to you later. Yeah, I mean, again, I am so dark about ChatGPT and AI. I went on ChatGPT, and then in the same breath, I say I went on ChatGPT, because I want to see what it will answer, right? And I did something really mundane. I was like, I think I said, I have a loaf of bread, I have peanut butter, I have salami, I have cheese. Make me a 1,500 calorie weekly meal plan with these ingredients. It was more ingredients than that, but that's what I was like laundry listing. And it totally did. Now I'm like, that's kind of fun, right? I mean, Google could probably do that to me too. Thanks, Kim. Because of my search, I've blown up the world. But again, it's like I was mentioning that article again and again, these people who have dedicated their lives to their careers, this is what they know. They have clients, they're making money, they're being members of society, they're, being part of the economy, are losing their jobs because people would rather go the cheap robotic way. And so I go back to what I started with. It's going to be on us and yes, companies with human CEOs and CFOs and things like that to be like, all right, yes, we can go cheaper, but the consequence down the line, maybe even not that far down the line, is we're going to lose a lot of our customers because they're going to lose their jobs. They're not going to have money and they're not going to be able to buy our product. If we want to have human beings buy our products that we're advertising because we're siphoning off their data, we need to employ them at the same level that we had before. That's going to require financial incentives. That's probably going to take an act of Congress. And with our political discourse, I wouldn't hold my breath on that either. So, all right. Well, on that cheery note, people, click the thumbs up button to show you love the show. Tell ChatGPT to do it too. So yeah, click the thumbs up. We'll do some headlines. Tim Sika is going to come on in just a moment and let us know about what movies to watch. I'm waiting for those too. I mean, we need to like ChatGPT Is there one? There probably is one having to do with our death and destruction because of AI and everything like that. That's not the Terminator, of course. All right, Tim Sika's next on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
This is the Nikki Medoro Show, and I would like to begin this newscast with President Biden, because I mentioned it before, but want to make sure everyone understands and knows that President Biden will be addressing the nation this evening. So do make note of it. He will be talking about the debt ceiling bill passed by Congress when he addresses the nation tonight. Of course, the list of GOP presidential candidates for 2024 is growing. There's no guarantee, though, everyone will be in the first debate. The Republican National Committee is reportedly setting stricter standards to qualify for the August debate in Milwaukee.
How about you can't have led an insurrection on the U.S. Capitol? Can we make that like the first rule? How about that?
Hey, yeah, that would be a good one. I like it. They, according to the Washington Post, are making requirements that include you have to have a minimum of 40,000 individual campaign donors and support from at least 1% of voters in multiple national polls.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't think, you know what? Stop trying to rig it for the people that already have all the popularity. I mean, that's lame, especially the first debates. What are you so afraid of? If they're not, just give them some. I hate these debates. I really do. They're not real debates. The rules are stupid. But how are we supposed to find sane human beings if Trump, who has all of the numbers, is going to run away with it because they're going to give him all the time? Well, he's the front runner. Of course he's the front runner. It's the only person you friggin' follow. Okay.
Well, they don't want the riffraff in on the debate. You know, they just want the real contenders in on the debate. But I would argue sometimes it's the riffraff who really, they don't have much to lose. So they turn things around and really talk about
the riffraff's at the top. They're riffraff. The riffraff's already going to be there. Give me a friggin' break over here.
I don't know if you heard about this woman. She refused treatment for tuberculosis and she was hiding out for several months. Okay. The more you're in society when you're spreading tuberculosis around, which is an aerial transmission, the more you could be giving it to people in the community. And, you know, here we go with another, pandemic. Well, Lord knows if we need that. She is now in jail. They have arrested this woman. She's identified as VN in court records. Doctors hope she'll choose life-saving treatments for her TB. For now, she's locked up in an isolated unit in the Seattle area. Court records show this treatment battle with Tacoma Pierce County Health has gone on since 2022. Pretty rare for a health department to take legal action in these cases, but they hope to save this woman and protect the community. The CDC says TB cases increased in the U.S. last year, especially in children. In San Diego, it's a slight uptick in cases. VN's next court hearing in the case scheduled for June 23rd. How selfish do you have to be to decline treatment for tuberculosis? And that could be maybe a personal choice, but then you stay in hibernation. You don't go around and spew it out to the world. I'm telling you what. A lot of people use Venmo and PayPal as well. Well, now, federal regulators warn Venmo and PayPal users, don't store your cash in the app. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's director warned in a statement, payment apps have been increasingly used as substitutes for a traditional bank, but they don't have the same protections to make sure the cash is safe in there. The agency said more than 3 in 4 U.S. adults have used at least one of these apps. And again, they say, don't keep your money in there. Got to take it out. As a matter of fact, I was just on PayPal the other day, or I'm sorry, it was Venmo, and it asked me, it said, keep your money in here. Here, click this button and we'll show you how.
I'm sure it did.
Wait a minute. You can't do that.
I was reading the story yesterday too, and I was thinking, you know, I only keep a little bit. Usually the money I have in PayPal or Venmo is money people have Venmoed me or PayPal'd me. I'm not choosing to store money in there. So I'm not like keeping large chunks of money in there. If I do, it's linked. But again, it's also linked to your bank account. So if you think that like paying people through Venmo or PayPal protects your bank account. It does not. It does not. They already have all that information. If they hack PayPal or Venmo, they have your information. So don't think that it's some safe thing. And it's not FDIC insured. So if you keep a large chunk of money, like you mentioned, you're screwed. You're out.
That's right. But sometimes you forget. Someone pays you and it's just kind of languishing in there and you don't
don't do that.
remember. So police in San Jose are investigating a crime spree in the
This
South
is
Bay.
awful.
It left
Awful.
3 people dead and 3 others injured. Police say all of the victims might actually be related to each other. So they have a
Really? I didn't hear that part.
Well, let me tell you the news.
Wow.
Sister.
Okay.
Police have a suspect in custody whom they think might be connected to a fatal stabbing in Milpitas. This series of attacks includes 2 carjackings and 3 stabbings. The suspect also charged with ramming into and killing 2 pedestrians. Police are investigating to see whether the suspect is linked to any crimes. The motive remains unknown. Police have not released the person's identity. But again, they say all the victims might be related. So there could be
let me
this
break news
connection.
to you, my friend, because he has
Okay.
been identified. His
Okay.
name is Kevin Parkerana.
Oh.
I was just Googling it. Sorry, while you were
You have a
talking.
picture?
Yes. Hold on. Where is it? Oh, hold on. I have to go to a different one. Well, KTVU had a video of him getting arrested. He looked out of his friggin' mind. Here he is.
Oh no.
We'll take your picture down. Take your
Okay,
picture down for a second.
Okay.
Here we go. All right, ready? There he is.
Oh.
Yeah, that's him. Kevin Parkerana. That's his
person who
mugshot.
allegedly did all this. All right.
Yeah, and so apparently, I think he does. Well, maybe he doesn't. I thought I saw in my last article, but I left it, that he might have a record. But either way, he's badass crazy, and I know all those places. One of the carjackings. Okay, if you guys remember, was it this week I was talking about shaming that guy at Big Lots? Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That Target is right across the street from Big Lots. So I thought of all of you telling me that I'm being an idiot and to stop doing that. Literally, the time that it happened, if I wasn't working in San Francisco, I'm not even kidding, Kim. I'm not even kidding. If I wasn't working in San Francisco yesterday, my daughter has a dance today and she's been wanting a new dress. There is a very good chance I could have gotten off the air, right? Because I would have done the show yesterday and gone to Target. I could have been there. Not trying to make it about me, but like that hits really close to home is what I'm saying. Like, it's insane. And then the time it happened, the Cruiser, I think stabbing or carjacking, that's right by like Pioneer High School. Kids are getting out at 3:00 in the freaking afternoon. Like, I don't know the ages of the pedestrians that were hit, but they could have been kids. It's insane. So yeah, I'm so glad they got him though. I'm really, really glad that they got him because it was frightening. And I was at work. I was at work in San Francisco and my husband's texting me. He's like, there's all these cops everywhere. And I'm like, I bet it has to do with the stabbing that I'm getting all these alerts on. So yeah, just insane. Sorry, I digress.
No, that's good. I think it's okay to digress. It's scary when something like that happens in your area. And,
I hate it. It's terrible.
And this is one of those stories where we'll be hearing about for a while because it seems like, I don't know.
3 people dead and the guy's on like from Milpitas to San Jose. Yeah.
There's more to the story in this one.
Something's happening.
So Alameda County Sheriff's Office says an Alameda County judge was robbed at gunpoint yesterday morning in a parking garage right outside the county courthouse. Takes cojones for that thief. That's where you go. You decide to rob someone right outside the courthouse. They said the judge was not hurt, but he was robbed of some personal belongings. The suspects are identified only as 3 males who are wearing masks. Police haven't released any additional information on all this yet. Whew. Another company in San Francisco, the San Francisco-based tech firm Zendesk, announcing it's laying off 8% of its workforce, about 440 people. Officials at the customer service software company telling employees it had overhired in the last 3 years, and they blame economic challenges for the decision to do these layoffs. Again, 440 people. Managers and directors are listed among the employees who are to be let go. So that's another one. I mean, it just seems like every time you turn around, there's another tech company saying, sayonara, sucker, we got to let you go. 440 people now without a job as we head into the summer. It just seems pretty sad. Yeah, it does suck. And Meta has some interesting news as well going on. Let me get the little Meta picture up for you. There you go. Meta is telling employees who aren't fully remote they'll need to come into the office 3 days a week. It's good times working from home or over. Yeah, starting September 5th.
But
Meta
don't you
workers,
think 3 days a week is still a pretty good compromise? I mean,
I'd be happier with 2 days a week.
oh, duh. I'd be happy with none. Like, let me do what I want to do, right? But I would say at least they're not saying every day, 5 days a week, you have to come back, right? And if I get to choose, what would you choose? Would you choose like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? I'd choose Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah,
Nobody likes Monday, and I want Friday off.
That's right. That's right.
Right? That sounds perfect.
But yeah, so they say those who aren't fully remote will need to come into the office 3 days a week starting September 5th. So you have some time to plan. Coming into the office, they say, means we spend time commuting and have less personal flexibility. But they say it also supports collaboration and the energy that comes from working alongside your team, which are critical as we build the future. So they know that it's, you're going to spend more time.
What are they going to say? I want to see the results of this survey. I want to see the results of this study that say I'm not working as hard. They could just say it. They're like, nope, in quotes, we found that we're more collaborative. No, you just want to see my ass at work. Just admit it. That's it. It's fine.
We miss you, Nikki. We want to see your face. Come on. Why are you so worried about it?
Too bad, people. Too bad.
But what a change in lifestyle for people that now, they've been working from home for 2 years?
Now they got to
drag themselves back in. I don't know.
It's awful.
I have some more news.
All right. Oh, you have more news? Okay.
I do. Okay. A Northern California man is heading to prison after pleading guilty to theft of governmental property. Listen to this. His name is Edison Small of Vallejo. He admits to climbing inside of a trailer being towed by the U.S. Postal Service truck while it was at a red light. This was in May of last year. Small stole a bag with more than $17,000 in cash, $1,300 in money orders, $500 worth of checks. During a search of his apartment, just over $15,000 was recovered. He could face up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine when he is sentenced on September 7th. And do you want to hear about bear wrestling?
Bear wrestling? All right, well, hurry, because Tim Sika's waiting for us.
All right. So apparently having a bear as a wrestling partner is not the best idea.
Darn it! Get out of my house, bear.
The Salem Police Department reminds residents bear wrestling is illegal in the state. Anyone caught sparring with an animal will face a Class A misdemeanor. Conservation agents say the best way to live with bears is to, avoid conflict.
Leave the bears alone. Leave the bears alone. Yes. Go ahead. Give your lockout. Sorry.
I was going to say I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Yeah. And speaking of animals, no pause. Thank you. I'm putting it right up there. San Jose shelter reporting full. They're so full. Some good news, no pause, is that someone I went to high school with saw this headline. They're full. They refuse people dropping off pets. Saw a bunch of cats, went down there, has a new little baby black kitten. They literally today. So do that if you can. More than 900 animals need adoption. Open your hearts and homes if you are able. So yeah, absolutely do that. All right. Let's welcome our friend Tim Sica to this Friday show. Hello, my friend.
Ladies. Hello. A lot of good energy on the show this week.
I know.
Yeah.
Emily Hoeven was on right before you, and we adore her. She's so much fun. We were talking AI and the destruction, and Terminator set us all up for this ending of humanity. So, but I hope there are better movies that you're reviewing than Terminator, because I'm taking my son. Yeah, exactly. I'm taking my son to go see the new Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, Across the Spider-Verse. I don't know if either of you have seen the other one, the 2018
Spider-Man. I did.
Yeah,
okay,
I did.
all right. Okay, well, that was a gobsmacking piece of animated and comic book art.
Great.
Well, this sequel is an even more gobsmacking piece of animated and comic book art. I don't know, every time I watch these movies, really seriously, and I mean this, I feel like I need to go and read books on physics, because they're just smarter than me. And this movie, I mean, it's interesting because the animators, I don't know if I could describe the style of this movie, but the animators of the first one described that movie as wanting the film to feel like the viewer had walked inside a comic book. And this style here in this follow-up sequel is similar to the previous one, only the different universes visited in the film were designed to look like they were each drawn by a different artist. You know, this is another
in that generation, right? Or when that was written.
Yeah. And this is another multiverse movie, you know. So and there are at least, I think, by my count, 6 different universes depicted in this movie. But so anyway, the plot, forget it. It's impossible to synopsize, but there's so much going on. But it's the return of the Miles Morales character, who's this, teenage graffiti artist of African-American and Puerto Rican descent who took over. I know this isn't going to make any sense, but it will to fans. He took over as the Spider-Man of his universe after the death of his reality's Peter Parker. Well, see, you understand that, right? I had to write that down because and it makes sense, even though out of context it may not. But it's a multiverse story, and there are many Spider-Men in this one. There's many Spider-Women. The fans in the preview screening I attended, they followed all of this much better than I did. I mean, because they were reacting to stuff, and I'm going, oh yeah, I missed that. So I attended it with a smart audience, and I needed that anyway. In summation, it's really an amazing movie. Good. I mean, it's almost too much to take in. There's like too much brilliance being thrown at you in terms of narrative and animation. There's like a billion cuts. And it's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Thanks for the warning, because I'm going with a bunch of little boys. So,
yeah, but I don't know. It's pretty. I mean, you can't look away. It's so dazzling and so breathtaking. And I'm going to go so far as to predict that it will not only secure a Best Animated Feature Oscar nomination, but a Best Picture nomination as well.
Really?
It is that good.
Wow,
Nikki,
that's huge.
Yeah, no, you'll have to tell me what you think about it next week.
I will definitely. Yeah,
because,
I'll definitely tell you.
Tell me if I'm not doing hyperbole here, but I don't think so. I mean,
well, I'm not going to know next. No, because next Friday is the day I'm actually going to go after the show. So I'll have to let you know.
Well, then the following week you can tell me.
Exactly. I'm just trying. I'm like, am I gonna know? No, not yet. But I'm gonna be watching. Now I'm excited.
No, it's amazing. I mean, you look at this thing and you think, how can anybody make a movie that's this ambitious and this? It's brilliant. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. 1 billion thumbs up. Okay, let's go to Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman. Am I going to like this one? Because I like movies.
I think so. It's based on a 1973 Stephen King short story, right? And it's about the monster in the closet, right? The monster under the bed, the Boogeyman, we called as kids, right? When the lights went out and we thought there might be some monster underneath the bed or hiding in the closet. And in this story, the Boogeyman, who turns out to not be a figment of anybody's imagination, targets this family who suffered a tragic loss. It's a therapist played by Chris Messina. He works out of his home and he's lost his wife in a car accident, and he and his 2 daughters are trying to cope with that loss, and kind of unsuccessfully. And all of this is triggered by this unexpected arrival or appearance of this guy who, the minute we see him on screen, we know that there's something wrong with this guy. He comes to the house to seek treatment from the therapist because he too is dealing with a loss, but his loss involves the death of his 2 young kids. So there's like stuff kicking around in this movie about the trauma of death, the pain of loss. Carl Jung is even quoted in this movie about the facing of fears and his belief that people will do anything, no matter how outrageous, to avoid facing their own souls. And the Boogeyman here, although he's physically represented as this ghoulish alien-like creature, is also a kind of metaphor for the thing that comes from our kids when we as parents aren't paying attention to them. So there's stuff going on.
Lay on the guilt on all the parents.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but this is my favorite kind of horror movie. It's more psychological than gory or gross.
Oh, good. Yeah,
it's creepy and scary, and it's masterfully atmospheric. The way Ron Savage, the director, uses silence in this movie, it's actually deafening. I mean, there's no ambient noise at times. There's no like white noise. It's so quiet that you start looking around your seat.
You got me all creeped out right now, just saying it like that.
Well, it's funny. The story's a little silly when you think about it, but it's so seriously presented here that you stop thinking about it because you're so caught up in the tension. So I thought it was a terrific horror.
I love it, Tim. If
Yeah.
you say that you like a scary movie, it is
it's
on my
good.
must-watch list.
Yeah,
I love it.
and you like scary movies, right?
I love it. I love it. You
really?
totally sold that one to me.
No, Nikki, you're gonna love this. Trust me.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Now,
There
go ahead.
I was just going to say there was a time when I used to run from my door when I was a kid. I would run from my bedroom door and jump on my bed because I was so afraid that some creature was going to stick their arm out from under my bed and grab me by the leg. So this is the kind of movie that just kind of gets me. This is why I don't watch
dark,
these
like
movies.
living room going up the stairs. You're like turning off the light and running up real quick. I think that's something that most kids, even adults, remember that like, oh my God, it's going to get me. And then you get into your blanket, you're like, okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. And sometimes coming home from like your friend's house who lived 2 doors away, if it started to get dark, you would run home for fear that, the boogeyman was going to jump out of the bush and get you. At least I did. Yeah.
And I'm a screamer. My husband still scares me. He'll still jump out and I'll look at him like, ah! I'm terrible. I'm absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this. This one looks sweet. Being Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah, it is. It is sweet, but it's also it's kind of intense too. I've always loved Mary Tyler Moore as an actress, and that thing I loved about her as a person, which I'll try to describe in a minute here, is deeply explored in this documentary. It's called Being Mary Tyler Moore. It's streaming on HBO Max, or just Max now, I think it's called. Can't they just leave well enough alone?
It's just Max, which doesn't make any sense or whatever.
No, it doesn't. Anyway, this movie explores the life, the personal and public life, the career, her stage, screen, and television career, and the legacy of Mary Tyler Moore. And that thing I've always loved about her as a person, which I could never articulate, was her depth as a person. She was a comedian and she was always very funny and perky and pretty. But it's really, that thing about her was that she, and I never knew about this at all, was her struggles with alcohol addiction. She was one of the early celebrities who admitted herself to the Betty Ford Clinic. She divorced twice. She had diabetes. Her 24-year-old son accidentally shot himself playing around with a gun. And, she was a comedian, so she was always funny and talented and beautiful. But underneath there always felt to me like there was a lot going on that we never knew about. And I remember seeing Ordinary People, where she played the sort of emotionally unavailable mother. And that to me said, okay, that's that thing about Mary Tyler Moore that this movie explores in depth. There's great archival footage here of the Dick Van Dyke Show, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Ordinary People. And I just think it's a must-see documentary for fans of the actress. I do have to admit that it's a bit, hagiographic, meaning like kind of flattering and at times kind of worshipful. But I didn't care because I've always loved this woman, and watching this movie reminded me why I have always loved this woman. So
nice. Okay. So let's contrast your feeling of Mary Tyler Moore with LeBron James. I mean, and I'm not saying they're equal, but is this kind of the same type of thing?
Well, it's a drama for once, so it's not a documentary. It's like a movie.
So this is it's a drama. I thought it was about LeBron.
Well, it is. I mean, it is. It's a narrative drama about LeBron James, his youth, though, in his early beginnings in Akron, Ohio, when he started out playing high school basketball at Catholic St. Vincent St. Mary's High School in Akron. And the screenplay is based on the 2009 book of the same name by LeBron James. And I think Buzz Bissinger wrote that with him. Anyway, and the director, Chris Robinson, does a really good job in capturing the essence of that story in movie form. And yeah, I had a great time watching Shooting Stars. I love sports movies anyway. And this one pushes all the right buttons. It adheres to the sports movie template, with all the requisite uplift and the speechifying and the success coming from failure motifs and stuff. Mark Isham wrote a score, the composer, that's also very appropriate. It's kind of peppy and chipper and sometimes predictive of what's about to happen. And you can't help but feel uplift when you hear his music. But all that said, maybe I was just in the mood for it. I was going to like this movie regardless. I had a great time watching it. It sometimes felt like they were trying to squeeze too much into a 2-hour movie. Maybe this would have been a better miniseries.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, because but for the most part, the characters are fleshed out enough where there's rooting interest for all of them, and you do get caught up in it. And anyway, sports movie fans, regardless of any reservations I may have, this is catnip for you. It was catnip for me, and for LeBron James fans, who is he's one of the greatest things to come out of my hometown of Cleveland and nice. The Cavaliers. Yeah. I mean, somebody should make a movie out of that chapter of LeBron James's life. Now that would be great. Anyway, in the meanwhile,
I'm sure they will.
In the meanwhile, we've got Shooting Stars, which is more than sufficient. So there you go.
And that's on Peacock. So that's streaming for people.
Yes, on Peacock. Yes.
Perfect. All right, Tim, Sika. So basically you gave a thumbs up to everything today. So no bad ones. If you had to choose the top one though, Spider-Man.
Oh God.
Or Boogeyman.
It would be, okay. It depends. They're so different. If it was an animated film, of course, Spider-Man. If it was a horror film, definitely the Boogeyman.
All right, Tim, Sika, I adore you. We will talk to you next week. Thank you so much.
Nikki.
Bye. All right. Sorry. Just cut him off right there. All right. Well, that's Tim Sika doing movies every Friday on the Nikki Medoro Show. I really appreciate him being there. Click the thumbs up button before the show ends. I'm excited to see Spider-Man now, but I really want to see the Boogeyman now. Maybe I'll just have to go and see that. You don't like movies, so.
Would like to test you on something.
Oh, shoot. Okay, go. What?
So, the script spelling bee happened.
Oh.
And the winning word was, and I don't even know if I'm going to say it right, but I'm going to try. Samophile. Samophile.
Samophile?
I'll give you a hint. Samophile.
Samophile. Samophile?
I'm sorry, Nikki Medoro. You do not. You do absolutely
not.
How
do you spell it? S-A-M. Oh, that P is silent. That damn P, it always gets you in trouble. I've said it once. I've said it a million times.
So we'll learn for today. It's an organism that prefers or thrives in sandy soils or areas. So now we all know.
A P and an M.
A samophile.
At least I got the file part right. I knew that they were going to go tricky on that file.
Pretty good, though. Good effort.
I know. Yeah, I never got. What's funny is I'm not a bad speller, but I never did well in those script. At school they had to stand. I never got very far in that, but I'm not a bad speller. Yeah. It's not that good. There was 3 kids that won. I just saw the headline not too long ago. Or they're in the finals or something like that. All right, you got
an 8th grader won it.
An 8th grader?
Yes, his name is Dev Shaw. He is the winner of the spelling bee. He correctly spelled samophile to win the 95th annual competition and the $50,000 prize.
I want that. I guess I should crack the whip with my kids. All right, you guys. Big thanks to Wes, who gave us a $5 super sticker, and JR, who came through the $25 super sticker, and a comment. He called us Fat Kim, but it's PHAT.
I'll take
it. We love you for it.
Yeah.
So if you're watching on replay, you can still donate to the super chat. Just look for the $sign under the chat box. Of course, please, all of you, sign up to become a Medorable. Subscribe to our monthly Patreon, thenikkimedoroshow.com. All the links are there, or bump up your donation. We would really, really appreciate it. Keeps us on, and we love doing the show with all of you. All right, we'll talk again next week. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're all so the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.